The sniper rifle. It's a deadly weapon, notorious in Hogs of War for its scoping capabilities and overall immunity to bullet physics. This rifle holds its own against other competitors within the game. 90% of the bullet-based weapons in this game suffer from some kind of fall-off, meaning there is a point in which the bullets have travelled the furthest they possibly can, and so real-world physics take over and it falls to the ground. The good old snippety sniper rifle completely ignores this idea. Instead, it allows the player to shoot up to the full length of the map, and as long as the bullet is on target and there are no obstacles in its path, it will always make it. With a solid base damage of 40 HP, for me it sits as the number one on the list in terms of the best rifles in the game. Indeed, unsurprisingly though, the sniper rifle hasn't always been this way. In the early days of development, the rifle only did 25 damage and was immediately available to the first promotable character within the espionage rank. But Jesus, the aiming system at this point wasn't actually inverted, so it was very difficult to use effectively. In essence, long shots were virtually impossible, hell even close-up shots were tricky. The hitboxes were a lot smaller, sometimes just non-existent. However, the health pools and damage numbers for most weapons were much different when compared to today's game, with pigs having more health and the highest damage numbers of the most powerful weapons were just barely touching the hundreds. Interestingly though, at this stage in development, the higher classes of the Commando, Hero, Ace and Legend all had tranquilizers and machine guns as their primary rifle-based weapons. I mean, it's understandable given the low impact the sniper rifle had in terms of damage and the overall poor aiming system. The machine gun worked more as a spray and pray type of gun half the time, while the tranquilizer provided the luxury of gaining an extra turn. So the sniper rifle just wasn't good enough at this point in time, and it wasn't until later in the beta stage that this weapon took the form that we know it to be today. As I mentioned before, the PC version offers weather effects and time of day that can greatly affect the player's use of the sniper rifle and its scoping capabilities, unless you're like me who can manage to hit shots that are just crazy, like this one. The PlayStation version had to sacrifice this, partially because of memory space and partially because of the plain fact that performance of the game was already greatly affected in certain areas when it came down to frame rate. From what I've actually seen of reviews, this was the primary letdown for the PlayStation gamer. Before the time where nostalgia raised this game in terms of popularity, the plain fact was that the game couldn't hold its own weight on the console. Sniping was, and indeed is, greatly affected as the player can really feel the sluggishness of the camera movements, but in some way it almost enhances the overall feeling of the weight to the shot. To be honest, I found that for a lot of the weapons on the PlayStation version, it's as though the problem of frame rate actually improves the satisfaction the player gets when a shell or a bullet or an explosion is fired or detonated. You can really feel the heaviness of the mortar shell when it lands. You can sense the impact as the cluster of bullets from the shotgun hits an enemy pig square in the face. It's a weird one, but for me it just adds to the charm of the game. Of course, I could rant about game mechanics all day and the fact the game itself was just hindered in terms of performance, but I mean, there's a big difference between the year 2000 and the year 2019. Frame rates have improved, gamers want just 60 FPS, 30 FPS, just a smooth, constant frame rate, and I'm not saying that that takes away from the game and that it wasn't looking to get the best frame rate it possibly could, but yeah, there's a large difference. The player faces several missions in the single-player campaign whereby the sniper rifle takes center stage, those being Mission 6 Under Siege, where the enemy has the high ground with the 2 bombardiers and the low ground with the 2 snipers, Mission 8's the spying game, where 98% of the enemy are snipers and spies, and of course Mission 15, Fortified Swine, and Mission 18, I Spy, where the primary focus is on the use of spies and their goddamn hiding abilities. The amount of time I spent on those missions will forever haunt me, as just the enemy continuously hides for the 5th time in a row. Ugh. Of course, it isn't just the espionage class that has access to this weapon. I guess any other mission that concerns commandos and heroes can also be added to this list. Against vehicles and hiding pigs, this weapon will do the standard 40 damage. However, it is worth noting that the object the pig is hiding as will act as a type of shield that basically absorbs a portion of the damage that is taken. In this case, the pig inside will be dealt 20 damage. The hitboxes in today's game are much more forgivable compared to its predecessor, with the game taking into consideration the overall shape and angle in which the pig is facing. Overall, I find sniping to be incredibly satisfying in Hogs of War. It provides the player with a good upgrade to the low range and low damage of the regular default rifle that is given to grunts and orderlies and medics and, you know, just the other classes that aren't cool enough to have a sniper rifle, as well as just enabling for better positioning. Not having to worry about being too far away from the enemy target is a huge thing, as a large chunk of this game is all about knowing the distance you are from the person that you are shooting at. The sniper rifle is much more rewarding when playing as the espionage class, however, as when you combine it with the fact that this class is automatically invisible to the enemy when you search for them on the minimap, it just lets you be more sneaky. And regardless of how long you play this game for, I guarantee you will end up forgetting about that one sniper who's just sat in the corner of the map firing at the same pig who's off in the distance. Am I right or what? So, the sniper rifle. It's earned its reputation as being one of high accuracy and damage, along with solidifying its place on my list as being one of the most effective guns in the game. It's provided us with physics-defying shots and pure long-range efficiency, allowing for all of us to improve our aim and become the most creative marksman. But what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Let me know everything in the comments below. Let's get discussion going as always. But in the meantime, that is of course going to wrap everything up, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. Plenty more weapons related stuff coming up soon, so do stay tuned, and I will catch you guys later for the next one.
Destination